My loving Lord is resourceful. And there's plenty fish and guys see the shells will appear for the disappearing for those of jellyfish that swim warm water. Beautiful enough to sting you. What tides bring to shore, all determining what the moon does. And this is work for you against and after that will wash you, toss you back and forth. And this is lessons to learn for the burn, proceeding from the preceding recess and recessions and questions. No answers to the emotionally confused what's giving up until it dissipates for the awakening of the sun for the light to correlate your face of fatigue, prenatal to the premature. Nature is natural for wonder for the flares of the solar rays of the sting your devil's ray and nibbles underneath the floor for the shore for the way your dreams gave for the scoping of the waters and watch the dreamers are coming near. Who would have known such a noun could be pro-advocates for the fatality for the so be surprising, confusing, not for the beef repeating, acting, not for the beat the cast of the world for the doing. As a series of rolling series, Cyrus of the Sipping and appearing in the Mediterranean, or your meditation, no prayer for the applause and appalled at after the parent flaws and displayed to this place. Just raise to the face of that and untie your lace and made for the you can break a leg for the back for the grabbing. You can have the giving instances and distance and not to see the direction that plays the consequence. And compasses, passion, complaints, pain for painting, pictures to fate, calamity, calmness, confusion to infusing. Illusions to never exceed the conclusion to conclude your outcome for the intentions and never intended for the tender heart for the eyes are blind enough to keep us before you for the never see that from the beginning and think you convert to ignorance and the best. Tries to move that emotion rhythm to the music to the state for the under the moonlight and it was enough for the celebratory pre-thought for the sign you could be the elaborate for the devil rate to detect that for the fetus and fed up with the misled. Round to the jaw, right for the high rates, illness and the rate that for the black can be the trap and that the trauma finding yourself and the intentions and it comes out for the tantalizing for the transition I can never be the state.
Dance of romance. Dance of romance. Make a move. Come before the outcome. Intake to take the lead to that for the cup for the action, the contender for the complete completion agenda for regardless of the gender for the gentleman. For the hardest ways of gents not to find the deserving desert. Dry enough for the desert. Looks decent enough to deliver, deplete enough for the little map for either hate the eye and this pole. Position for the foreseeing and forethought for the forgetting about the loss of memory. Memory into that for the morons and more moon the lunatics and this to find what's keeping you watching it for the redundancy and the acting instead of the action evasion for the unveiling the mask and take over the eyes and blame you and stuff for the misleading for the pleas of innocence and outcome your ignorance and the rant you rate. See, I rate for the rational way for the see the whole you're looking at me and smiling for the surface of the crater so that for the impact that for the fine occurrence and dips to be drowning and the treading in emotions you can't see but the shining the seed for seals and sealing the secrets and seducting sacrament. Drowning in the treading in emotions in which you can't see for the besieged find an icon of the mind and treasure for what you pirates to give the map for this and secrets to the rich in your currency to from this gloom and circular I can find a curse circulating for the orbit of doom. Dumb enough for the pain for the emotions and numb enough for adding for the like the letters of this and numb for the times that add up but the shit have never been on the table anyway for the multiplication of power. Precise perception prescribed to some scripture to legitimately find that for the literature, for the litter, for the trash talk that it was a waste of pleasure, for the plea for such a question, the nutrients, the better diet, your deity for the decency. You decide upon your choice of moonlight, the sun, that the Sabbath, the mandate, your beginners for the beggars to be pains and no food for thought, for eat the planting, for the garden, for the plant, for the plans, your base and deprivation for the ponic rolling of growth and not the growing pains to your aching heart. Beat yourself to death like a civil rights case. Case of that and setting for the sealing of your own integrity, for the pleading of what you flow out of the mouth for the ignorant river. You can be the death of the patriarch or the resist that for the icon of to send the mark for the mark and the question, the conundrum for the you head over the left the dumb. Dead to dread the violence for the vibes. Victimized for the cell you alive and never tried to look at what you can't believe for the liable to pay attention to what you hope that can be to be determined. Detrimental. I don't want to fall into your misleading and please the innocence and outcome. Pain you bring me. Like an orbit of dumb, making enough of emotions and numb enough of the letters and the number of times it's been shook. grab the riddle is fine. Scribble for the speed of getting shot. Misfire for that to mislead yourself for the deceiving your DCs. Conceiving enough to be before the leaving to come and shoot a shoreline again. When you know you're coming and going, the tides of this beautiful full moon. Determined to repair not to be the mind for the misheard. Because of the sheep that follow the voice and heard straight to the slaughter. And for such age, sausage to be other white. Chicken. Pumping harder than the pumping hormones and fear. The will and the love, the cock and the water for the sunrise, and it would be the other side and the behind after the shadows of the light for the seed if it would if it couldn't. I don't wanna call this a release. I don't wanna call this a release. I don't wanna call this a release. Cause I don't wanna consider it a breakup, but this music knows to breathe themselves out loud for themselves. A diary because I've been dying slow from composition. Compose that for the finding composure for the journals, and this will be the journey. My love knows to my love because she didn't take that away, and it wasn't hers for the giving, for the not, for the receiving. For this is someone for the not, accept that for the present, the gift, and that's the life for the gravity, for the hunger to wait, even over the waiter, for the recognition, the weight that be weightless, and the uplifting of you to have the nothing that will be whole. Cherish what's been lost and not before the blind eyes, and I won't even miss her because you can't miss what's been forgotten. I won't forget. On the dark recordings of the bass of the subconscious will play intuitively for the dreams like the Matrix and episodes of those programs on Netflix, and you can tune your lifestyle for the seasons and streams and defines it and filling the voice into the space and like satellites from my wife and programs. No Wi-Fi or wifey. Netflix, you're tuning your lifestyle for the stream to this, filling the voice and streams and satellites for this to be the adversity for the black thought. What you can't find comprehension for the rise to the rest of for the booking upon the shelf for to be released upon the good behavior for your food for thought, for no patience, no waiter for the balance and no taters, no flavor, no good, no God, taste, no flavor, no tongue, no feelings, no savor, no hope. No savor the drugs, no raver without a beer, for there's no shaper without the paper, so this would be the coroner avoiding a caretaker, and never the undefined release subconscious or dark to tell yourself for the never. Balance, understanding for the adaptation to seasons and where you are fine. The melody for the melancholy, for the joy, for the what you can find the questions and words that reason to balance your understanding for the adaptation to your seasons, all upon the beat of orbit. I've been told reception makes you look like an ass, and not for the opinion, for the not be discussion, for discussing the cussing around the people. I can find appreciate your terminal. I want to consider that for the breakup, and that's the notes and breathe themselves out loud for the die because I've been dying slow. But this will be the weightless in journals who know how to find my journey. I need to research, and that would be redundant enough. You are so beautiful. What does it mean if you don't even know? I think you're wonderful. It's not for something you to wonder about. Defining notes for those with footsteps are lost to seek the rights and left. And this is hope for the love forsaken, but taking the time to be for long. For this to be the future for the inspiring, for this aspiration. Designed for the disillusion, for the concluding, your expedited, inverting, and ongoing. Hollow through the denseness of first attraction to be seen. For the forgotten to be the part for the statement, for the announced constitution. Your necessary information, at least be engaged. Interest in the crowd, for the interest in the mediocre principles in exchange for one's gratitude, for the just man's attitude to conclude your consideration.
starting with particular comparison, competing for your competition, and coming to grips with the realization of gathering innate ideas for your faith for the future, then grasping expansion of knowledge. Knowing how to make the picture for the figure, how to learn for the expand your expectancy, for the expressive basics and steps of stones with stoners and authenticity. Hands dirty with the grime and distasteful grammar of their tongue to be enslaved, to displace it to replace your perfecting instead of perfection. Objective in the course of reacting to response to all those streaming straight to your timelines without engagement, the habits of the habitual thinking and roundabout repetition and not make sense of what you could find ability. Lie but to tell the truth for the time frame of memory. Infused as calm being confusing, fussing into spontaneous reaction. The heat for the energy, the reluctance, and not so much. Feel the body for the sentiments, for the nose, the sense, the brain, the fail, the braille, scales of that for the weight, for the friction. Frame the way compromise and the venture for the center, for the event, for the course of control, which is out of control. The define for the presence that you can find it predominantly dominated. Famish elements out of your commission and your growing pains. Sprout the dots, crop to die for proportions. Instead of distorted colors and offerings of stationary, narrow-minded for the metal. Slow beast the punishment for the enslaved justice and forgiving your high can find the fortune, forgiveness and prick at the picket signs and combine the companies to compare your paragraphs. Parallels rarely spoken to poke provocative pronouns enough for the scribble for the what's prescribed enough for distracting disasters assist assembly for the cognitive thinking and provoked. Evidence revealing irrelevance. Disengagement intercourses and new pride for the detrimental for the finding of fatality for the fatality a true attribute to attribute for this outcome coming out of the closet for the setting and grand opening for the open opposed to position the encompass and coming out of there for the hands of striking every item for the ending and outcry for the outlash and outcast for the state of the grows and spurred by the spurts screaming for some of those with the grip of the containment for the areas that arrived at for the settle for the departure for the park after the apparatus at the rate rated for the regional residents, designing responsibility required enough for the reform and retaining rhetoric for the review and enough for the reaction of regards to being glued to regimen for the realignment for the endgames and the morals and projected right into your front line of age. Reactance to actions and activate events and such like the tree in the forest for the glance of the fire stick for the illuminated for the celebratory for the occasions enchanting your disparity. Conclusion considered offensive for the course of coarsely complaining. Complaint to complacency completely complementing complex and content for the controversy contrived enough to contribute tribes and trivial for the violence and the ways to be parties parting your parcelling for the celebrate for the deliberates and the liberals. I can find this as one individual but not for the eyes that are perceptible. particular comparison, competing for your competition and coming to grips with the realization of gathering innate ideas for your faith for the vision and grasping expansion of knowledge. Knowing how to make the picture for the figure, how to learn, for the expand your expectancy, for the expressive basic steps and stones with stoners and authenticity. Hands dirty with the grime and distasteful grammar, the tongue to be displayed, for displace to replace your perfecting instead of perfection. Objective from the course reactive of response to all those streaming straight to your timelines without engagement, the habits of the habitual thinking and roundabout repetition and not make sense of what you can find ability. Liable to tell the truth for the time frame of memory. Infused as calm being confusing, fussing can do spontaneous reaction. The heat for the energy, the reluctance, and not so much. Feel the body for the sentiments, for the nose, the sense, the brain, the fail, the braille, scales of that for the weight, for the friction. Frame the way compromise and the venture for the center, for the event, for the course of control, which is out of control. You define for the presence, and you can find it predominantly dominated. Famish elements out of your commission, the growing pains. Sprout the dots, crop to dot the proportions. Instead of distorted colors and offerings of stationary, narrow-minded for the metal. Slow beats the punishment for the instate justice and forgiving your high can find the fortune, forgiveness and pricket the picket signs and combine the companies to compare your paragraphs. Parallels rarely spoken to poke provocative, oral nouns enough for the scribble for the roots, described enough for distracting disasters, assist assembly for the cognitive thinking and provoked. Evidence revealing your relevance. Disengagement intercourses in your pride for the detrimental for the finding of fatality for the fate of the true attribute to attribute for this outcome coming out of the closet for the setting and grand opening for the open opposed position encompassing coming out of there for the hands of striking every honor for the ending and outcry for the outlash the outcap for the state erosion spurred by the spurs screaming for some of those with the grip of the containment for the areas that arrived at for the settle for the departure for the park that for the apparatus celebrating rated for the regional residents, designing responsibility required enough for the reform and retaining rhetoric for the review and enough for the reaction of the groups to be included, the regiment for the realignment for the engagement and the morals and projected right into your frontline of age. Reactants and actions and activate events as such as like the tree in the forest, the plans of the fire stick for the illuminated for the celebratory for the occasions and chanting your disparity. Conclusion considered offensive for the course of caution and complaining. Complaint to complacency complete and complementing complex and content for the controversy, contrive enough for the contribute, drives and driven for the violence and the ways to be parties, or party your pursuing for the celebrate for the deliberates and the liberals. I can find this as one individual back to the highest level perception.
This a release, cause I don't wanna consider it a breakup, but this music knows to breathe themselves out loud for themselves. Diary, because I've been dying slow from composition, composed after defining composure for the journals, and this will be the journey. My love knows to my love, because she didn't take that away, and it wasn't hers for the giving, for the not for the receiving, for this is someone for the not, accept that for the present, the gift, and that's the life, the gravity, for the hunger, the weight, and over the weight, for the recognition, the weight that be weightless, and the uplifting of you to have the nothing that will be hope. Cherish what's been lost and not before the blind eyes, and I won't even miss her because you can't miss what's been forgotten. I won't forget. The dark recordings of the base of the subconscious will play intuitively for the dreams like the Matrix and episodes of those programs on Netflix, and you can tune your lifestyle for the seasons and streams and defiances and filling the voids into the space and like satellites from my wife and programs. No Wi-Fi or wifey. Netflix, you're tuning your lifestyle for streams, so this is filling the voids and streams and satellites for this to be the adversity for the black. What you can't find comprehension for the rise of the rest of the booking upon the shelf for to be released upon the good behavior for your food for thought for no patience, no waiter for the balance and no taters, no flavor, no good, no God, taste, no flavor, no tongue, no feelings, no savor, no hope. No savor the drugs, no raver without a beer for the no shaver without the papers, and this is to be the coroner avoiding a caretaker, the never the undefined releases subconscious or dark to tell yourself for the neff. Balance, understanding for the adaptation to seasons and we all find the melodies for the melancholy for the joy for the what you can find the questions and words that reason to balance your understanding for the adaptation in your seasons and all upon the beat of orbit. Been told reception makes you look like an ass, not for the opinion for the not be discussion for discussing the cussing around the people that I can find appreciate your terminals. I want to consider death for the breakup and the notes and breathe himself out loud for the die because I've been dying slow. But this will be the weightless in journals who know how to find my journey. I'm going to never look back. Yes, I need to research and that will be redundant enough. You are so beautiful. What does it mean if you don't even know it? I don't want to call this a release.
I don't want to call this a release.
I don't want to call this a release.
I don't want to call this a release. Cause I don't want to consider it a breakup, but this music knows to breathe themselves out loud for themselves. Diary, because I've been dying slow from composition. Compose that for the final composure for the journal, so this would be the journey. My love knows to my love because she didn't take that away, and it wasn't hers for the giving, for the not, for the receiving. For this is someone for the not, accept that for the present, the gift, and that's the life for the gravity, for the hunger, the waiting over the waiter, for the recognition, the weight that be weightless, and the uplifting of you to have the nothing that will be hope. Cherish what's been lost and not before the blind eyes, and I won't even miss her because you can't miss what's been forgotten. I won't forget. On the dark recordings of debates of the subconscious will play intuitively for the dreams like the Matrix and episodes of those programs on Netflix, and you can tune your lifestyle for the seasons and streams and defines us and filling the voids into the space and like satellites from my wife and programs. No Wi-Fi or wifey. Netflix, you're tuning your lifestyle for the stream to this, filling the voids and streams and satellites for this to be the adversity for the black thought. What you can't find comprehension for the rise of the rest of for the booking up on the shelf for to be released upon the good behavior for your food for thought, for no patience, no waiter for the balance and no taters, no flavor, no good, no God taste, no flavor, no tongue, no feelings, no